Hello dearies. Today I'm going to do a flip through of the Literary Witches Oracle. It's a 70 card deck and guidebook written by this person. I'm not sure I can pronounce. Illustrated by Katy Horan. It comes in this nice sturdy box. And this is a deck based on the book Literary Witches, A Celebration of Magical Women Writers, which I have not read and I do not yet own. So this box just flips open like that. We have our guidebook, which is fairly thin. I think the book that this deck was based on would be a really good addition to this. But it's a good little book. It gives you a single card daily reading layout, some examples, 3-card layout, and then straight into the cards themselves. It is a fully illustrated guidebook, and it gives a little bit of for each card, the keywords and a bio of the author, which you can also pull some of that into your reading as well. The other part of the deck are the materials, and for those cards it just gives keywords in the guidebook. So fairly thin guidebook, but it's enough to get you going. The cards themselves have a nice black and white back to them, referencing the literary side of them, I suppose. Getting a little bit of glare off my light there. A hand and a card. And then the decks are kind of divided into the Literary Witches and the Witches material. And I wanted to wait on this flip through until I'd had a chance to work with these to see kind of how I worked with them. And as it turns out, I do use it almost like 2 decks. The witches themselves are part of my spread, and then the materials I use to kind of clarify, to bring a little bit more into, to build up the reading from the cards. But I do use them separately. So let's go through the witches first. The deck makes no claims that these writers were or are witches, but that they do have a certain magic to them. So each of the cards has a depiction of the writer, some imagery that evokes their writings, their stories, their name, and then a keyword on each card. I like the variety of writers. There's modern writers, there's Victorian writers. There is some really interesting imagery on the cards going back to what those authors wrote about. And it's nice to see kind of the portrait of them on the cards as well. These cards are kind of a matte finish with kind of a linen feel to them, and you can kind of see that in the light there. So I like the way these cards feel. Writers from different cultures, different ages. Again, I think that knowledge of these women would certainly add depth to a reading done with these cards. That is the Witches. And then the Materials deck is a little bit larger. There are more of these than there are of the author cards. And this has a lot of more simplistic symbolism on it. They're not busy. They just are what they are. And I think that frees these cards up to be interpreted fairly quickly and intuitively with the cards of the Witches. I believe that a lot of the Materials cards come directly from the stories and the writings of the authors. Because I do see some repeats imagery that is from those cards as well. So the fronts of the cards, there's a lot more color in the author cards than in the Materials cards. The Material cards, like I said, have a lot more simplistic imagery on them. And there are a few more of them. Now, like I said, I have been using this deck this month with my modern Witch Tarot, and I really like how they've sort of fit together. They've been reading really well together with the modern Witch Tarot. This is a deck that I am planning on doing some modification on. I haven't decided 100%. I'm thinking I might knock off this white border. I think on the front and the back that would look pretty good, and it would let the artwork pop out a little bit more, the colors. But I'm not too mad at the white border on these, so we'll see. As for the Material cards, because I do use it as two different decks, I do want to cut these down. I don't particularly want these to be the same size as the author cards. So I might go through and just cut down to the image on the card and have a smaller deck to kind of complement the authors rather than being the same as. Quality wise, these are good quality cards. They've got a little bit of bend, but they're fairly thick cardstock. They are matte finish and there's a bit of a texture there, linen texture, which I do enjoy. They shuffle quite nicely. Both in the rifle shuffle and overhand. My hands are not huge, so I do appreciate that I can manage these cards quite well. And I use them with my author card being the primary focus of a reading, and the materials cards adding flavor to that. That is the Literary Witches Oracle.